Now, I haven't done our Dread in quite some time. My main reason for that is that I found it being too nitpicky, and I do want to give the benefit of the doubt. However, this idea has been in my head ever since the planes came out, with multiple events in the last half a year, and then this week Warframe announced that they'd be removing a piece of beautiful, maybe broken Warframe content, the raids. So, here's my long, maybe a little harsh, but my critique on Warframe right now. I do still love you guys. 2017 was without a doubt the best year for Warframe, with twice as many people attending TennoCon, and Planes of Eidolon probably being the best update so far in giving this game exposure and overall playtime. As a player who's been with this game from the start, this makes me very happy and proud to be part of this game. Especially when seeing more and more people discovering what an amazing feat of work this is. That's why I want to make two things very clear right at the start of this video. 1. I love this game. See, this game is amazing. It has one of the best teams working on it, and there's never been a game in my entire life that I felt this closely attached to. I love it. 2. It does have some issues. See, I want to clarify what I mean with issues, because in a game with over 30 million players, you're always going to have someone that's going to take issue with something. So, having issues is not necessarily a problem. However, it's the size, it's a large amount of people that is being affected by this, which is quite shocking. Words like variety, taking a break, or even quitting are showing up much, much more than any time ever before, even though the game should be doing better than ever before. See, Warframe may have done great on the surface, but if you dig deeper you'll find a trend that I've come to dread. Something I call Devstream Warframe. And my main thesis with Devstream Warframe is that Warframe is not doing enough to satisfy their core player base. Rather, the current focus is more on people outside of the game than the people inside the game. Now, before I explain that, I just want to say that I know personally some of the people that create Warframe. I've had the honor to visit their studios and hang out with them during TennoCon, and I know that they want what's best for this game, for this community, and for every single one of their players. And I also strongly believe that they're doing what they believe is best for all of us. However, I don't agree with what they're doing. The Planes of Eidolon were celebrated intensely when they were first announced on TennoCon 2017. The content itself was unmatched. Compared to the Kuva Fortress with the War Within, and Lua with a Second Dream, a so-called open world was a literal game changer. The cheering you can hear when the gate opens makes for an epic scene for everyone that sees it. However, when the content was put into the game, this is how the brand new content was introduced. With the exact same scene, but without people going wild. For everyone that's seen the advertisements or the dev stream, this was the time to explore the highly anticipated content. But everyone else just logged in on a random day to find a new node without a clue as to why it was suddenly there. Ever since the Planes of Eidolon came to this game, we've seen some great content. Aside from the open world, there will be new battles, new enemies, and even new events. And though in the dev stream the content had been carefully showcased, in-game no one ever explained why it was there. The Eidolon story is hidden in fragments. The Plague Star just sat there until enough people happened to do a run of it, and the ghouls even needed to be killed to have a chance of finding pieces of fragments that would tell us why we actually had to kill them. This is a big issue, because even though the quality of the content is very important, what's more important is to give players a reason as to why they should play it. Greta did this very well, with people willing to go over the reward requirements because every run would aid their side. However, I've had no interest in doing any of the ghoul runs at all, even though the event has been around for 3 times now?
Telling me that ghouls are breaking ground does not explain to me why it's important that they should be stopped or even who they are. At the same time, why do we care about this? It's never explained why this note suddenly popped up from one day to the other, or why we should care about these random people. Sure, they may give good rewards, however, a reward is a result of what you did. It's never the reason why you do something in the first place. Now if you want to counter that by saying anything that starts with, but on the wiki, in the comic, or in the codex, don't even think about it. These places are great for expanding small little details like the story of a Grineer trooper. However, it's not the place for common lore. That should be in your face, easy to see for everyone. These issues with integration affect everyone in the game, aside from two groups of players. First of all, the people that watch the dev stream, and secondly, new players. The first group has already seen this content coming and knows what's about. The second group doesn't know any better or may have actually started playing this game because they saw this content coming up. Going on this tangent, it's not very strange that Seiya's Vigil, the quest that came with the planes, wasn't used to explain the planes, but instead explained the use of an old in-game mechanic: scanning. With Warframe nearing its 5th anniversary, it's safe to say that many veteran players have already played all the content in the game. This shows in stats as the concurrent players decrease the longer it's been since an update. So it makes sense that to keep the game active, you need to have a solid flow of new people coming into the game to start their Warframe journey. And this appears to be very clear to DE. Because what attracts people to a game more than showing great new content being added on a regular basis? The planes were conveniently located on Earth. The 2 events happened there as well, and now we'll be able to ride new vehicles, all on the starter planet of the game. This has not been a recent trend. Throughout its history, Warframe has always tried to make sure that all their content will be available to everyone. However, it's surprising to see that all the new content is relatively easy to do and geared towards a younger player base. This in turn has the effect that the veteran player base, the people that spent thousands of hours into the game and may have even founded it, are becoming second-class citizens. The announcement of removing raids from the game upset a large part of the community. This anger is not so much about the raids themselves, but rather because this is part of something bigger. One of the reasons stated for why the raids, the attempt made for Warframe's own endgame, were being removed was because they were not accessible to low-level players. Now forget that raids, however broken they are, were loved by a great deal of people. Think about how endgame not being easily accessible to low-level players is a problem big enough to review the content for. At what level are we supposed to be doing raids then, and getting arcanes? Call me old-fashioned, but to be honest I quite like spending time and effort to gain something. It makes a game feel that much more rewarding. I don't want a second dream right the first day I start playing. Speaking of quests, when was the last time we actually heard about a sacrifice? Well, at least we know they're working on the plains of Venus. Being a new player sounds great then, and having been one recently when restarting on the Xbox, PlayStation and PC, I can say it's a very interesting experience for sure. It most certainly gives you a different perspective of the game, if not just for the fact that everything looks a bit different from when I was mastering 2. However, where it's all nice and fun to see the planes and walk around in them, they will only mean so much if I don't have any storylines to back up my relation with this world, and have equipment which is just no good. It's been clear for years that being a new player in Warframe is not a great position to be in. The fact that Warframe is so overwhelming and does not do a good job in explaining itself proves to be a great challenge for people that log in for the very first time. Broken mods are an excellent example of how when a player eventually stumbles upon the mod system and starts leveling them up with a scarce supply of endo that they have, they'll end up discovering that these mods are completely useless and they'll have to rank up the actual mods all over again. This aside though, during the previous months I've been going for the Warframe quest for my series, The Warframe Question. And when I did, I was quite surprised. Warframe has a great story. A story that intrigues many people, makes up the universe around us and motivates us to keep on playing. That's why it's important to get people engaged with the story of Warframe right at the start. However, the delivery of the first 2 quests is mediocre at best. Suffering heavily from age and the great changes made to exterminate missions, they desperately need a review. Though not as bad as Half the Q-Brow, the third quest that presents the inexperienced player with days worth of build time, and requires them to go halfway across the solar system for resources, whilst delivering the bare minimum of a story arc. In short, being a new player is still the same as it has always been, so where's the attention going to then? Look at my noggles! Hell yeah, another fish! Fashion? Totally endgame. Customization in Warframe is pretty big. From customizing your Warframe to your companion to your Lased, almost every color in the game can be changed, and everywhere you can add parts to make your equipment look unique. The creativity of players is stunning, and I have to admit, I do enjoy seeing well executed fashion in the game. Catchphrases like "fashion is endgame" or "fishing is endgame" are ones that resonate in this community quite a lot of times. The reason why fashion is especially so popular all comes down to our need to identify ourselves. The way that you decorate your Lased, color your Warframe, or what glyph you wear indicates who you are. Do you stand together and all dress up the same, or do you like to push the envelope and color in the most obscene ways possible? Another nice thing about these activities is that they have another advantage, one which becomes very clear with activities like fishing. They take time. There are an unlimited amount of ways to color your Warframe and add armor. Fishing all the fish can easily take up hours of playtime. Hours that you would otherwise spend playing the game, if not you'd already finished the game. As I said before, there's a large number of players that already cleared most of the content. They've done all they wanted to do and are waiting for the next update to bring them new content to play with. To fill up the time in between, coloring all your Warframes, designing and redesigning your Orbiter makes for a great pastime, hence why we jokingly ended up calling it Endgame. Mostly whilst watching the dev stream. Now let's take a look back at the past dev streams and see what the most important announcements were. 105 featured new Tenogen as well as displaying new skins and designs. 104 featured Mesa Deluxe with some augments, and 103 featured the personal quarters, the final of the 2 doors that were left to unlock after the stunning reveal of the second dream. Where the first door to unlock revealed a massive secret, provided a new game mechanic and played a big part in one of the biggest quests in Warframe, the third door reveals a place where you can put fish in a tank and play with Warframe Legos. All of this is fun, dumb and goofy, but this is not real content, let alone endgame content. I know this may be controversial, but you cannot skin something that's not there. You need content in the game before you can apply skins. Fashion is endgame, fishing is endgame. It's a nice thing to say, but more importantly, it's a funny gag. If all Warframe really had to offer was coloring characters and fishing fish, it would not be as popular as it is right now. That's not to say that flashy cool looking skins and more customization aren't popular. It's great content to see and I do love giving my Warframe a new look, but at what cost? As we've seen, a great deal of cosmetics has recently been released, as well as a lot of content for the earthly planes. And with the removal of raids comes the question, what's next? As it stands, we currently have the War Within as the most recent cinematic quest from 2016. Here and there are a few interesting cliffhangers waiting to be picked up, and Seed is standing that many players have already maxed out. So, what's in the works? Well, we have Korra, a new interesting Warframe which will probably come with their own quest. Then there's the Kingpin system, a new faction of criminals that you can hunt down with your clan. And then there's the Sacrifice, the final reveal of Tenokon to be the quest where Excalibur Umbra will finally enter the game. Aside from these pieces of content all sounding interesting and offering hours of new gameplay to the experienced player base, another thing they have in common is that they were all announced to be released in 2017. Although, none of them are here. The Sacrifice was announced to be for the end of the year, and Korra was given a few weeks at the start of December, but the Kingpin system beats both of them, as the last time it was shown was on Devstream 91, back in April 2017, almost 10 months ago. And it wasn't just a draft, look at what was shown. Now, I understand very well the development takes time, and that the planes took favor over the Kingpin system. Also, I would rather not have a rushed content release. However, on all these projects announced in 2017, there is no ETA for any of them. And then there's already word of a Venus planes? When will that be released?
In the end, if there would be one main takeaway, I would like it to be this. Focus less on showing off as much great looking stuff as possible, thinking that everyone will see that, but then doing a bad job implementing it, or not even releasing it at all. See, I love the Devstream. I think it's amazing. It's an amazing initiative. It's so great. As well as all the other content out there, the comics, everything outside the game, it's lovely. But at the end of the day, the amount of people that watch that is just around 300,000. That's just 1% of our 30 million plus player base. Now, what drives individual people is very personal. But for me, it's the challenge of unlocking new content, and it's the anticipation for great content. That's what motivates me to play the game. So I don't see how making content more easily available and putting the main focus on additional stuff like skins or rooms to decorate is necessarily a great course. Now, do I know the answer for this? No. But what I do know is that I desperately want this game to succeed. And I want Warframe. Not Devstream Warframe.